I will talk about language learning and personal growth. This episode is based on the book, The 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth by John Maxwell. In this book, you will learn why some people grow every year and why others stay the same for many years. But we will look at these ideas through one clear lens: learning a language. Every law in this book can help you improve your English, not in a fast or stressful way, but in a calm, daily, realistic way. As always, I will talk slowly. I will use clear English, and the language level will grow step by step, just like your English. Okay, are you ready? Let's begin. Okay, let's start with the first law, the law of intentionality. Intentionality means wanting to do something. Many people want to speak English well. They want to feel confident. They want to speak without fear. They want to understand real conversations. But wanting is not enough. Let me ask you a simple question. Are you growing in English? Many learners believe that time will improve their English. They think, I studied English for many years, so my English should be good. But time does not improve your English. Practice improves your English. Focused practice. This is why the first law is so important. Growth does not happen by accident. Growth happens on purpose. This is called intentional growth. Intentionality means you choose to grow. You decide to learn English. You decide to practice. You decide to continue even when learning feels slow or difficult. Many learners say, I learned English at school, but they did not speak. They did not listen every day. They did not use English in real life. Learning a language is like learning to drive. You can read about driving for years, but if you never drive, you will never feel confident. English is the same. You must use it. Intentional language learning means English is part of your daily life. You listen to English while you walk. You read simple English every day. You speak English even when your sentences are not perfect. Mistakes are normal. Silence is the real problem. Many learners are afraid of mistakes. They think people will laugh. They think their accent is bad. So they wait. But waiting does not help your English. Speaking helps your English. So, John Maxwell explains that growth is not automatic. If it was automatic, everyone would speak English fluidly. But we know that is not true. Some people live in English-speaking countries for many years, but still cannot speak well. Why? Because they did not choose intentional growth. They heard English, but they did not listen carefully. They studied grammar, but they did not use it. They learned words, but they did not repeat them. Intentional learners are active. They listen and repeat. They notice new words. They practice sentences about their own life. Now let me give you a simple example. Two people want to improve their English. The first person watches English videos, but always uses subtitles in their own language. They enjoy the video, but they do not learn deeply. The second person listens to short English podcasts every day. The sentences are simple. The speaker is slow. The learner listens again and again. After 1 month, the second person understands more. After 6 months, the difference is clear. The difference is not intelligence. The difference is intention. Many learners say, "I want to be fluent," but they do not decide when to practice. They do not decide how to practice. Fluency does not come from hope. Fluency comes from habits. A habit is something you do regularly, without force. When English becomes a habit, growth becomes natural. Intentional growth also means responsibility. Your teacher cannot speak for you. Your book cannot practice for you. Your app cannot think for you. You must take responsibility for your English. This may feel heavy at first, but it is also freeing, because when you take responsibility, you take control. You stop waiting for perfect conditions. You start using what you have. Even 10 minutes a day is enough. Even one sentence a day is enough. So the author, John Maxwell, says growth starts when you move from "I hope" to "I choose." That's very interesting, isn't it? I hope my English improves. I choose to listen every day. I hope I can speak confidently. I choose to speak even with mistakes. Hope feels good. Choice creates change. Let me say this clearly. If you want your English to change, your daily English actions must change. Not next year, not next month, today. 1 minute today is enough to start. Okay, now we move to the second law. This law is called the law of awareness. The law of awareness is simple, but very powerful. It says this: you must know yourself to grow yourself. Let me say that again. You must know yourself to grow yourself. This idea is extremely important for language learning. Many learners work very hard. They study grammar, they learn vocabulary, they watch videos, but they do not improve as much as they want. Why? Well, maybe because they don't understand themselves as learners. Awareness means understanding who you are, how you learn, and where your problems are. Without awareness, effort can be wasted. Let me explain this in a simple way. Imagine you want to travel to a new city, but you do not know where you are now. You do not know your starting point. Can you choose the right road? Of course not. Language learning is the same. If you do not know your level, your weaknesses, your habits, you cannot choose the best way forward. Many learners say, "My English is bad." But this sentence is too general. It does not help. Awareness means asking better questions. You ask, what part of my English is weak? Is it listening? Is it speaking? Is it pronunciation? Is it confidence? These questions give you direction. For example, some learners understand English very well. They can watch videos. They can listen to podcasts. But when they speak, they freeze. This learner does not have a listening problem. This learner has a speaking habit problem. If this learner studies more grammar, it will not help much. What they need is speaking practice. Awareness saves time. Another learner speaks a lot, but people do not understand them. They think the problem is vocabulary. But the real problem may be pronunciation or sentence stress. So, without awareness, they keep learning new words. With awareness, they focus on sounds and clarity. John Maxwell explains that growth starts when you face reality. Reality is not always comfortable. In language learning, reality can be painful. You may discover that your level is lower than you thought. You may realize that your study methods are not effective. But this is not bad news. This is good news. Because once you see the real problem, you can fix it. Awareness is not about judging yourself. It is about understanding yourself. Let me give you another example. Some learners say, "I forget words very fast." They feel frustrated. But awareness asks a deeper question. How do I learn words? Many learners only read word lists. They do not use the words. They do not hear the words in sentences. So forgetting is natural. When learners become aware of this, they can change their method. They start learning words in sentences. They repeat them in context. They use them in short stories about their life. Awareness leads to better strategy. Another important part of awareness is honesty. You must be honest with yourself, not cruel, not negative. Honest, just honest. You do not say, "I'm terrible at English." You say, "I need more practice in speaking." This small change in language creates hope. John Maxwell also talks about knowing your strengths. Many learners only think about weaknesses, but strengths are important too. Maybe you are good at listening. Maybe you have good memory. Maybe you enjoy reading. These strengths can help you grow faster. For example, if you enjoy listening, you can use podcasts as your main tool. If you like reading, you can learn vocabulary through stories. Awareness helps you work with yourself, not against yourself. There is another important idea in this law: feedback. Feedback means information about your performance. In language learning, feedback is very valuable. When someone corrects your sentence, they are helping you grow. When you hear a recording of your voice, you learn about your pronunciation. But many learners avoid feedback. They are afraid of correction. They think correction means failure. But correction means learning. A child learns a language through constant correction. Adults need the same process. Awareness means accepting feedback calmly. You listen, you reflect, you improve. Let me say something very important here. You do not need perfect awareness. You only need better awareness than yesterday. Growth is a process. Today, you may realize one small problem. Tomorrow, you fix it. This is real progress. So the author says that awareness gives direction to growth. Without direction, effort becomes random. With direction, even small effort becomes powerful. In language learning, this means focused practice. Instead of studying everything, you study what you need. Instead of copying others, you build your own learning path. This reduces stress. It increases motivation because now you know why you are doing what you are doing. Now, before we end this part, I want you to stop and think. Ask yourself these simple questions. What part of English feels hardest for me? What part feels easiest? How do I usually study? Is my method really helping me? Do not answer quickly. Think honestly. This is awareness. All right, now we move on to the third law. This law is more emotional. It is more personal. And for language learners, it is extremely important. This law is called the law of the mirror. This law says something simple but very deep. You must see value in yourself before others see value in you. Let me say this again in a simpler language. You must believe in yourself before you can truly grow. For language learners, this law explains many hidden problems. Many learners have knowledge. They know grammar. They know vocabulary. They understand English when they listen. But they do not speak. Why? Because inside they do not believe they are good enough. The mirror in this law is not a real mirror. It is your self-image. Self-image means the picture you have of yourself in your mind. If you see yourself as bad at English, you will act like someone who is bad at English. If you see yourself as a learner who is improving, your behavior changes. The author explains that growth always follows its self-image. This means your progress follows what you believe about yourself. Now, let us look at this in language learning. Many learners say sentences like these in their mind. My pronunciation is terrible. I always make mistakes. I cannot speak like others. I am too old to learn. These sentences may feel honest, but they are dangerous. They become your inner voice. Inner voice means the voice you hear in your mind when you think. If your inner voice is negative, your learning becomes heavy and stressful. When you believe you will fail, you often stop trying. This is not because you are weak. It is because your mind is protecting you from embarrassment. Many language learners are not afraid of English. They are afraid of embarrassment. They are afraid of looking stupid. They are afraid of silence. They are afraid of being corrected. So they stay quiet. But silence does not improve your English. Silence only protects your ego. Ego means the part of you that wants to look good and avoid mistakes. John Maxwell says that people who grow learn to see themselves correctly. Not too high, not too low. Seeing yourself too high means thinking you are perfect. Seeing yourself too low means thinking you are hopeless. Both are wrong. Healthy self-belief is realistic. You say, my English is not perfect, but it is improving. You say, I make mistakes, but mistakes help me learn. You say, I'm not fluent yet, but I am on the path. This way of thinking changes how you act. Now let me give you a clear example. Two learners are in the same English class. The first learner thinks, I'm bad at speaking. When the teacher asks a question, this learner looks down. They avoid eye contact. They hope the teacher does not choose them. The second learner thinks, speaking is hard for me, but I need practice. When the teacher asks a question, this learner feels nervous, but raises their hand. Both learners feel fear. The difference is not confidence. The difference is self-belief. Confidence is not the absence of fear. Confidence is acting when fear is present. This is why this law is so powerful. Your belief comes before your performance. Many learners think, when my English becomes good, I will feel confident. But in reality, confidence must come first. Not perfect confidence, just enough confidence to try. So John Maxwell explains that self-belief grows through small wins. A small win is a small success. In language learning, a small win can be very simple. You speak one sentence. You understand one short conversation. You explain one idea clearly. These moments matter. If you ignore them, your self-image stays negative. If you notice them, if you see them, your self-image improves. So, awareness from the previous law helps here. You notice progress instead of only mistakes. Another important idea in this law is self-talk. Self-talk means what you say to yourself. If your self-talk is negative, learning becomes painful. If your self-talk is supportive, learning becomes possible. You do not say, my English is perfect. You say, I am learning, and learning takes time. So, time is important. Many learners compare themselves to others. Comparison is dangerous. You do not know other people's history. You do not know how many years they practiced. You do not know how many times they failed. When you compare, you often feel smaller. So John Maxwell says, You should compare yourself to your past self, not to others. In language learning, this is very helpful. Ask yourself, can I understand more than last year? Can I say more than last month? Am I less afraid than before? These questions build healthy confidence. Another hard word here is mindset. Mindset means the way you think about learning and ability. A fixed mindset means you believe ability is permanent and cannot change. A growth mindset means you believe ability can improve with effort. Language learning requires a growth mindset. If you believe I'm just not good at languages, you stop growing. If you believe languages are hard but learnable, you continue. The mirror you look into every day matters. If the mirror shows failure, you stop. If your mirror shows progress, you continue. John Maxwell also talks about valuing yourself. Valuing yourself does not mean thinking you are better than others. It means believing your effort is meaningful. Your mistakes do not make you stupid. Your slow progress does not make you a failure. They make you a learner. Learning a language is one of the hardest skills in the world. If you are trying, you are already strong. Let me say something important. Fluency is not only a language skill, it is also a psychological skill. Psychological means related to the mind and emotions. If your mind is always tense, your speech becomes blocked. If your mind is calmer, your speech flows better. This is why believing in yourself helps your pronunciation, your fluency, and your confidence. Now, before we finish this part, I want you to do a small exercise. Listen to your inner voice. When you think about speaking English, what do you say to yourself? Is your voice kind? Is it patient? Or is it critical? Critical means judging and blaming. If your voice is critical, gently change it. Instead of saying, I am terrible, say, I am learning. Instead of saying, I always fail, say, I'm improving slowly. These small changes create big results over time. All right, now we move to the next law. This law is quieter, it is slower, but it is just as powerful. This law is called the law of reflection. The law of reflection says this: learning is not only doing. Learning is also thinking. Reflection means stopping for a short time to think about what you did, what worked, and what did not work. Many people believe that more time equals more progress. They think if I study stronger, I will improve faster. But this is not always true. Sometimes, learning without reflection becomes mechanical. Mechanical means doing something like a machine without thinking. You repeat exercises, you finish lessons, you complete books, but you do not understand why you are not improving. Reflection gives meaning to practice. Let us look at this through language learning. Many learners study English for years. They attend classes. They use apps. They watch videos. but they feel stuck. When they speak, the same mistakes appear again and again. When they listen, the same parts feel difficult. Why? Because they never stop to reflect. Reflection means asking yourself simple but honest questions. What did I practice today? What felt easy? What felt difficult? Why was it difficult? These questions are not exams. They are conversations with yourself. The author explains that experience alone does not make you better. Experience plus reflection makes you better. This is very important. You can speak English every day, but if you never think about how you speak, progress will be slow. Let me give you a clear example. Imagine a learner who speaks English at work. They speak every day with colleagues, but they never think about their speaking. They never notice their common mistakes. They never think about sentence structure. They never check pronunciation. After 1 year, their English sounds almost the same. Now imagine another learner. This learner also speaks English at work, but at the end of the day, they stop for 5 minutes. They think about one conversation. They ask, which sentence was difficult for me? They write it down. They look for a better way to say it. This learner improves much faster. The difference is reflection. Reflection does not need hours, it needs attention. Attention means focused thinking. In language learning, attention turns experience into progress. Another hard word here is feedback. Feedback means information about your performance, usually from others. Reflection helps you use feedback better. When someone corrects your English, you can react in 2 ways. You can feel embarrassed and forget it, or you can reflect and learn from it. Reflection means asking, why was I corrected? Is this a common mistake for me? How can I practice this? Without reflection, feedback disappears. With reflection, feedback becomes a lesson. John Maxwell says reflection requires discipline. Discipline means doing something regularly, even when you do not feel like it. Reflection is not exciting. It is calm. It is quiet. That is why many learners avoid it. They prefer more action, more videos, more exercises. Without reflection, the same mistakes return. Reflection also helps with motivation. When learners feel stuck, motivation drops. But reflection shows progress. You realize, last month I could not understand this podcast. Now I can. You realize, I am still not fluent, but I am better than before. These thoughts, these reflections create motivation. Another important part of reflection is slowing down. Language learning is not a race. When you move too fast, you miss details. Reflection forces you to slow down. It helps you notice pronunciation, word choice, and structure. This makes your English clearer and more natural. Now, John Maxwell suggests that reflection should be regular. Not once a year, not only when you feel frustrated. Small reflection, done often, creates big change. For language learners, this can be very simple. After a lesson, you think for 2 minutes. After a conversation, you replay one sentence in your mind. After listening, you ask what helped you understand.